I miss narrating and reading other people's books. So that's a collection of mine, but I always find it interesting to read others. Now, this book I've been meaning to read for a long time. I think I've had it like a year, maybe. Um, and it focuses on Israel and Palestine, really. So it's the Palestine Laboratory by Antony Loewenstein. This what its cover says: how Israel exports technology and occupation around the world. Now, I saw clips of him on social media. There was clips from news outlets when this war in Israel was commencing, and I thought he's so articulated and he seemed balanced in his approach. And then I figured out he had a book, so I thought I'm going to grab that book. Um, yeah, so even on the inside cover here, we've got the inside cover. I'm just going to read really what that bit says to start with, and then we just go through a couple of the chapters because he's got sections to this book. And, I've been meaning to read it. So it says, how Israel makes a killing from the occupation. Best-selling journalist Antony Loewenstein, author of Disaster Capitalism, uncovers a hidden world in a global investigation, drawing on secret documents, revealing interviews and on-the-ground reporting. He shows how Palestine become the perfect laboratory for the Israeli military-techno complex, surveillance, home demolitions, indefinite incarceration, and brutality of the high-tech tools of the startup nation. Israel's military uses the occupied Palestinian territories as a testing ground for the weaponry and surveillance technology it then exports around the world to despots and democracies alike. For more than 50 years, occupation of the West Bank and Gaza has given the Israeli state invaluable experience in controlling an enemy population. It's here that they have perfected the architecture of control. Israel has become a global leader in developing the spying technology and defense hardware that fuels the globe's most brutal conflicts. The evidence is in the Pegasus software that hacked Jeff Bezos's and Jamal Khashoggi's phones, the weapons sold to the Myanmar army that murdered thousands of Rohingyas, and the drones around used by the European Union to monitor refugees left to drown in the Mediterranean. So, of course, these ain't my words; these are theirs, and I think it's important that we talk about these sort of things, and I think that's why this book is going to be really interesting. There was a page, so the contents are such that it says there's literally 7 topics. I don't know if I can really get it on camera. You can't really see it. So, one is selling weapons to anybody who wants them. Number 2 is September 11 was good for business. Number 3, preventing an outbreak of peace. 4, selling Israeli occupation to the world. 5, the enduring appeal of Israeli domination. 6, Israeli mass surveillance in the brain of your phone. And 7, social media companies don't like Palestinians. So where should we start with this? I could start on the selling weapons to anybody. September 11 was good for business. Preventing an outbreak of peace. I might do that. that interests me. The fact that countries subvert the opportunity for peace in this world. There's so much. I talk about it a lot, really. Whether when it comes to military spending and defense and things, there's a whole load of people that benefit from that. And that obviously goes against the notion of peace, doesn't it? So, this is chapter 3, preventing an outbreak of peace. Today, Israel offers an entire political model for asymmetric warfare, a conflict between a state and irregular combatants. Yotam Feldman, Israeli director of the documentary The Lab, 2013. Killing or injuring Palestinians should be as easy as ordering pizza. That was the logic behind an Israeli military-designed app in 2020 that allowed a commander in the field to send details about a target on an electronic device to troops who would then quickly neutralize that Palestinian. The colonel working on the project, Oren Asliach, told the Israel Defense website that the strike would be like ordering a book on Amazon or a pizza in a pizzeria. using your smartphone. This kind of dehumanization is the inevitable result of endless occupation. It's also an export asset. What's appealing to growing numbers of regimes globally is learning how Israel gets away with politicide. That term was adapted to Palestine by the late Israeli scholar and professor of sociology, Baruch Kimmeling, who argued in 2003 that Israel's domestic and foreign policy is largely orientated towards one major goal: the politicide of the Palestinian people. By politicide, I mean a process that has as its ultimate goal the dissolution of the Palestinian people's existence as a legitimate social, political, and economic entity. This process may also, but not necessarily, include their partial or complete ethnic cleansing from the territory known as the Land of Israel. I mean, look, as we go further into this book, we're not seeing that right now with Trump's speech saying he's going to occupy part and displace the Palestinians. That's literally what he's saying now. Crazy. A rare moment of Israeli political honesty came in October 2021 when far-right Israeli parliamentarian Bezalel Smotrich, I'm gonna lose these names, by the way, leader of the religious Zionist party, ally of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, said in the Knesset to the Arab members, "You're only here by mistake because founding Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion didn't finish the job, didn't throw you out in 48. It was an acknowledgement that ethnic cleansing took place in 1948, albeit delivered by one of the most racist and homophobic Israeli politicians. It's not a new point of view. In fact, it's been state ideology since 1948. Declassified documents from the Israel State Archives in 2021 revealed that attitudes towards the Palestinians have not changed much since the 1940s. There's been official policy, at least among some of the nation's senior military and political elites, to forcibly expel Arabs to neighbouring countries for the entire period of the country's existence. Roivin Ulani, Deputy Director General of the Israel Land Administration, said during a 1965 meeting that the ideal goal was population exchange. He was optimistic that a day will come in another 10, 15 or 20 years when there will be a situation of a certain kind, with a war or something resembling a war, when the basic solution will be a matter of transferring the Arabs. I think that we should think about this as a final goal." Yehoshua Verbin, commander of the military government that ruled over Arab citizens between 1948 and 1966, admitted that ethnic cleansing occurred in 1948. "We expelled around 500,000 Arabs. We burnt homes. We looted their land. From their point of view, we didn't give it back. We took land," he said. The solution, offered then and now, was eerily similar to Kimmeling's thesis. Either make the Arabs disappear, and if that was not possible, render them unequal in the hope that they might emigrate by choice for a better life elsewhere. Kimmeling could have added that politicide became a marketable tool around the world for nations and officials that wanted to emulate Israeli success. In 2002, Israeli military historian Martin van Greveld explained on Australian television what he saw as the dilemma faced by the Jewish state. They, Israeli soldiers, are very brave people. They are idealists. They want to serve their country and they want to prove themselves. The problem is that you cannot prove yourself against someone who is much weaker than yourself. They are in a lose-lose situation. If you are strong and fighting the weak, then if you kill your opponent, then you are a scoundrel. If you let him kill you, you're an idiot. So here is a dilemma which others have suffered before us, and for which, as far as I can see, there is simply no escape. Now the Israeli army has not by any means been the worst of the lot. It has done what, for instance, the Americans did in Vietnam. It did not use napalm. It did not kill millions of people. So everything is relative. But by definition, to return to what I said earlier, if you are strong and you are fighting the weak, then anything you do is criminal. Van Creveld was not factually wrong, but he underestimated how appealing the ideology of domination has become after more than 7 decades of occupation. Israel's homeland security industry has effectively monetized its tools and strategy, showing with battle-tested examples how a belief in separation, keeping Palestinians and Israelis distant from each other, so long as the latter dominated the former, with the solution in the short to medium term. Separatists argued Kimmerling wanted the opposite of ethnic cleansing, but it would have a similar practical and psychological outcome. It is rooted in a mixture of intertwined emotions, distrust, fear, and a hatred of Arabs, combined with the desire to remove Israel from its immediate cultural milieu. Separatism is the ascendant ideology in the Israeli mainstream. Prominent Israeli historian Benny Morris told Reuters in 2020 that disappearing Palestinians from view was an ideal solution for Israeli Jews. Israelis have gone off Palestinians, he said. They want as little as possible to do with them, want as few of them around as possible, and the separation fence between Israel and the West Bank helps that situation emerge. Morris blamed that on the Palestinian campaign of suicide bombings during the Second Intifada between 2000 and 2005, in which more than 3,100 Palestinians and 1,038 Israelis were killed, 6,000 Palestinians arrested, and 4,100 Palestinians' homes destroyed. Another way to view separation was an idea pushed by West Bank settler Micah Goodman, who reportedly had the ear of Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett when he assumed power in 2021. Goodman's vision was shrinking the conflict. He explained to NPR that most Israelis feel that if we stay in the West Bank, we have no future, and if we leave the West Bank, we have no future. Most Israelis are trapped in this catch to resolve the conundrum because the conflict with the Palestinians is unlikely to be resolved soon. Goodman said that Israel could start shrinking it in steps that shrink occupation without shrinking security, which means shrink the amount that Israel controls Palestinians without increasing the amount the Palestinians could threaten Israelis. What this meant in practice was maintaining the status quo. The most effective example of separatism is the encirclement of Gaza, trapping more than 2 million Palestinians behind high fences, under constant drone surveillance, infrequent missile attack, and largely closed borders enforced by Israel and Egypt. When Israel completed the 65-kilometre high-tech barrier along the entire border with Gaza in late 2021, at a cost of $1.11 billion US, a ceremony in southern Israel took place to mark the occasion. Haaretz described the wall as complex engineering and technological system, the only one of its kind in the world, that required construction assistance from Europe. Back in 2002, 3 years before Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon withdrew 9,000 Jewish settlers from Gaza, Israeli historian Van Creveld predicted the vision. The only solution is building a wall between us and the other side, so tall that even the birds cannot fly over it, so as to avoid any kind of friction for a long, long time in the future. We could formally finish the problem, at least in Gaza, in 48 hours by getting out and building a proper wall. And then, of course, if anybody tries to climb over the wall, we kill him. Gaza is now the perfect laboratory for Israeli ingenuity in domination. Is the ultimate... Oh, that's a weird word. Ethno-nationalist dream. Ethno-nationalist dream. Keeping Palestinians indefinitely imprisoned. The barrier around the territory was first built in 1994 and has undergone a range of upgrades since, though it was destroyed by Palestinians in 2001. Today, its population has been placed in a forced experiment of control where the latest technology and techniques are tested. However, what is happening in Gaza is increasingly occurring globally. The Palestinian architect Yara Sharif said that the Palestinization of cities is happening worldwide. It's happening by destruction and erasure but also with dramatic climate change. The November 2012 Israeli bombardment of Gaza, called Operation Pillar of Defense, was a 7-day war that killed 174 Palestinians and 6 Israelis and injured thousands more. While the death toll in the operation was relatively low, Israel's Operation Cast Lead in 2008 and early 2009 saw the death of 1,400 Gazans. That conflict saw a revolution in how the IDF portrayed the war across its multiple social media platforms. Worried that public opinion in some Western nations was turning against Israeli military actions, the so-called Insta-War was a coordinated enterprise to live tweet military operations and infographics produced to profoundly announce the killing of Hamas members or the arrest of Palestinian terrorists. These productions sometimes had the heel of a Hollywood-style, big-budget action film. The Israeli social media strategy aimed to involve both domestic and global supporters of its military missions by doing so and asking backers to post their own supporting tweets, Facebook posts, or Instagram images. The IDF created a collective mission that other nations could easily mimic by stirring up nationalist favour further online. During Operation Pillar of Defense, the IDF encouraged supporters of Israel to both proudly share when terrorists were killed, while at the same time reminding a global audience that the Jewish state was a victim. It was a form of mass conscription to the cause through the weaponization of social media. The war as spectacle, and the IDF was spending big to make it happen. The IDF media budget allowed at least 70 officers and 2,000 soldiers to design, process, and decimate official Israeli propaganda, and almost every social media platform was flooded with IDF content. Today, the IDF Instagram page regularly features pro-gay and pro-feminist messaging alongside its hardline militaristic iconology. On October 1st, 2021, the IDF posted across its social media platforms a photo of its headquarters swathed in pink light with the message, "For those who are fighting, for those who have passed, and for those who have survived, the IDF HQ is lit up pink this Breast Cancer Awareness Month." Palestinian American activist Youssef Munyar responded on Twitter, "An untold number of women in Gaza suffer from breast cancer and are routinely denied adequate treatment and timely life-saving care because this military operates a brutal siege against over 2 million souls." On Instagram, however, most of the comments below the post praised the IDF. This kind of IDF information war strategy is now routinely copied by the US military. The CIA launched a social media campaign, Humans of CIA, in 2021 that aimed to recruit from more diverse communities into ranks. It felt deeply inspired by the IDF's woke posturing, one of the most discussed and mocked campaigns considering the CIA's role in destabilizing and overthrowing governments since World War II. Was the video of a Latina intelligence officer declaring, "I am a cisgender millennial who has been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I am intersectional, but my existence is not box-checking exercise. I used to struggle with imposter syndrome, but at 36, I refuse to internalize misguiding patriarchal ideas of what a woman can or should be." I don't want to read too much. I think I've gone far longer than I probably should because I don't want to, the book is only 246 pages. I think to do large sections is to disrespect the author who deserves sales of the books. So if I was to read the whole book, that'd be so disrespectful and not fair, and you would argue potentially illegal because, yeah, I've read a section. I think I've hopefully done it justice. One would hope. There's obviously a lot to go in here. For me personally, I will start from the beginning in my own time and read about this. Of course, as with anything, we're hearing one version of events, so it's really important that when you build knowledge, you listen to different angles and then you interpret yourself. Of course, we all form our own opinion, and it's okay to have a difference of opinion on any topic, even one as divisive as this.